mask on all day long.
Oh, welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get started. We start with the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum, who we all agreed last week is staring at a max contract. Well, rumors have it that he's reluctant to play the remainder of the season if it happens, to risk injury. I have to be honest with you.
Well,
I don't
it's not
play
to risk
that.
injury. It's where you have a unique situation, risking the coronavirus, jeopardizing his, the injury risk goes with anyone. He's got a max contract stare him in the face next year, and they want these unique circumstances accounted for with the NBA picking up a little insurance that
that's
COVID
right.
doesn't wreck it.
Yeah, I think it comes down to Russ, just insurance, NBA can you fork it up a little bit under these circumstances to make sure I get paid?
Yeah, luckily there's an entire industry that has been formed around exactly this problem, which you can throw a little money at. It's called insurance, right? So you basically say, here are the things where he's at heightened risk because of going down to Orlando in a coronavirus atmosphere without the full-blown training camp, and given he's got a max contract coming. You can solve this problem. It's easy to
Yeah, but in the past, hasn't it always been the player or his agent picked up this insurance, for their contracts going forward?
Well, apparently it's $500,000. But Timmy, we've seen this in other sports, especially with seniors or guys coming out of the draft in football who refuse to play the bowl games because they don't want to get hurt. It's kind of a slippery slope road they're going down, though.
My view on this has completely changed. I used to be yelling at that kid to play the bowl game, that old school thinking. Catch me 5 years ago and I'd be all over Jason Tatum for not playing this. Let me tell you, if the owners didn't think it was in their best interest and it jeopardized the income that they were going to get from their franchise, they wouldn't move an inch. They wouldn't get off the couch. I don't blame Jason Tatum one bit. This kid is staring at an amount of money that could support his family for 2 to 3 to 4 generations, right?
Yeah. He's got to go. He's got to take
there's a precedent for this.
Million.
There's a precedent for this. And I think in the lockout year, it might have been 2011, can't remember. They came back and they crunched a lot of games together, put a lot of games in a short period of time. They went into the playoffs. Guys didn't have a breath. And Derrick Rose blew his ACL after the year after he was an MVP and literally has never been the same basketball player. And no doubt you could make an argument that was affected by the wear and tear in his body jammed together. And he lost hundreds of millions of dollars through that ACL tear.
Look, I think through all of this COVID-19 with the owners, especially Major League Baseball, it's really shifted to the players as far as public opinion goes. It's clear. Look, the owners aren't going to go and jeopardize their health in Orlando. It's the players who are going to. Yeah. Absolutely. Players need to take care of themselves. We'll talk about Major League Baseball in a sec. Okay, Kyrie Irving, and let's be honest, not a positive light here in Boston, but Kyrie Irving. I said this a couple years ago that I thought that Kyrie Irving didn't really want to play basketball anymore. He hardly played for the Nets. He bowed out of games with the Celtics. Now Kyrie Irving's talking about trying to tell the rest of the league not to play now, starting another league. Is Kyrie Irving a clown?
Listen, this guy, I don't know, what is the average career? 3.4 years or something. I know in the
NFL, it's like 2
NFL, it's like 2.
NBA is probably a little longer. I bet you it's 4 years.
If you're a superstar, you're going to get 10 years, But the average guy, could you imagine being a kid who's been like the best kid in his town his whole life, and he scratched his way to maybe getting drafted into the NBA, and he's got a shot to maybe get 2 or 3 years in the NBA, make a few $1 million, and here's this buffoon Kyrie Irving calling for, call it all off.
Yeah.
How easy from the perch to say that, right? And with just no consideration for the other, 95% of the league that's scrambling to make a paycheck.
But Joe, he doesn't even have the cachet anymore. It's really what LeBron says.
Oh no, even retired guys like Perkett calling him out and calling him an ass. He's just he's trying to be a leader, and he's got no following.
Exactly what he tried to do in the
not with the Celtics.
He tried to be a leader without being a leader, right?
He tries to come off as an intellectual. He's one of those guys who you meet. I think we've all met them. He tries to interject 2 big words into a sentence that have no place in the sentence, just to try to show you how intelligent he is. And
he got exposed here. He's
just not that bright. Let's just put it out there. He's just not a very intelligent person.
He had an 11th grade education.
There's a flaw in the logic of all this, obviously, which is There's maybe 5 players who transcend the game, who have a platform outside of the game, maybe 5. Like if they stopped playing basketball for 3 years, people would still care what they have to say. And then the rest of the league, if they don't play, they don't have a platform. And this is a platform for them to use their voices into support of something that they and we all care about in a peaceful way. And if they don't go down to Orlando and play the games, they don't have the platform to do what they want to do. And by the way, there's a tremendous amount of energy that they will have adding into this this whole environment through the course of the summer because they have a platform. And so for them to say we shouldn't go down there, you're just pulling the rug out from under the entire operation.
And a lot of it is Kyrie's been told he can't go down there. So now he's going to take his ball and go home.
Kyrie doesn't want to play basketball anymore, Joe. So he wants to do it.
Make movies.
He wants to make and collect his money. Kyrie likes being Kyrie. He doesn't want to give the effort to be a top star. But a few guys, I think it was Patrick Beverly said, look, it's all about LeBron. LeBron says it's time to play. Who are we, the rest of the league, to say not to play? And really, if LeBron decides to shut it down, the league doesn't go.
As much as I hated LeBron, versus the Celtics all these years, this guy has earned that cachet. He has earned it through the way he's lived his life, the way he's conducted himself through the years. I mean, he did have that I'm taking my skills to Miami little trip up there, but this guy's the Tom Brady of the NBA.
Oh, no. He's not the Tom Brady. Tom Brady's nothing personality-wise.
Okay, but what I mean is...
Tom Brady is a self-absorbed schmuck when it comes to anything outside of...
What I mean, Scotty, is I give to Brady credit for living his life with a little bit of decorum and class, But
LeBron puts himself out there.
LeBron has no stains on the way he's conducted his life or his image or anything, as far as I'm concerned.
The police were never called to Brookline for domestic.
And the police would never call to LeBron's house either.
LeBron tries to make a difference. Tom Brady tries to make a difference on for his ego each day.
Scotty, but you're taking me the wrong way. What I mean is he has an unblemished record.
Oh, absolutely. But I think
what I'm saying is this guy, when he talks, people should listen.
I agree with you. I'm all for it. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm ripping into Tom Brady, to be honest with you. Russ, pipe in here.
I think there's LeBron, and then there are a few other guys. I think Steph Curry carries a lot of weight in that league, right? I think Kevin Durant actually carries a lot of weight outside of, off the court, outside of that league. I think there's a small handful of guys that if Chris Paul still carries a lot of weight. If they're going along with LeBron, Kyrie doesn't have a chance. Kyrie never had a chance in this. He was never stopping this momentum. And unless he flipped LeBron and Chris Paul and Steph Curry and a handful of other guys, this thing was not getting off the ground.
Is Isaiah right now the Isaiah Thomas of this generation? Do you remember how Isaiah was kind of iced out of that
Kyrie
group back then?
No, because Kyrie has, from all I can tell, Kyrie has a lot of truck and credibility with younger players. That's Kyrie's like the Pied Piper of younger players that for whatever reason they worship the guy. And that's what he tried to go to town on. But look, 80 guys are on that call that he did 2 Fridays ago. There's 240 players in the NBA. So how big of a deal was it really?
And then most of that 80 thought he was crazy too.
Yeah, that's a great.
I didn't hear one single player back him up on that. And even Durant took him aside and said, "Hey, look, you got $100 million seed money for this new league. Take the $20 million a year they're paying you. You'll end up better off." Even Durant took him aside.
To me, I would say that's a good comparison, Isaiah Thomas. But really, they started trashing Isaiah years after his career was over. We'll have to see on that one. Years from now, what kind of hate comes out toward Kyrie like it's coming out toward Isaiah. All right, guys, I don't think the NBA is happening. I just think with a situation now in Orlando where they tested 500 airport employees and half of them had COVID-19.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't see how this is happening in Disneyland. Are there just too many moving parts for all of a sudden this to come to fruition, to have 8-game regular season and playoffs and a championship?
I think it's 50-50. I think there's significant concern. I don't want to say they have no chance because they're going to throw every bit of resource that they have at keeping these guys safe. And an institution like that and the kind of money that they can throw around, they are going to do everything they can to protect their investment and protect their players. So that's my only reason for thinking they can pull it off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're going to do anything humanly possible, at least for those 8. And if nothing else, they'll just wave the magic wand and say, play on.
Yeah. Timmy, did they the season? Do they end up finishing the NBA season or not?
I'm with Russ. It's 50-50. I mean, you can do the old Ben Franklin, put a line down the middle of the paper and write why we should and why we shouldn't. And right now, each side is kind of even. There's as many reasons to do it as there are not to do it. It's a tough call right now.
Yeah. All right, we go to the Red Sox in Major League Baseball. And I think that most people can't agree on one subject, but we could all agree that Rob Manfred is an absolute disaster as a commissioner.
Yep.
But it looks like July 19th, we have baseball again.
Yeah, all of a sudden look, we'll see. Again, none of these leagues have happened yet. Everything seems to be delayed. They keep on pushing everything. Dr. Fauci just came out yesterday and said that baseball season should end October 1st. Doesn't leave a lot of room for a season in the playoffs.
Well, Dr. Fauci doesn't have any, even Trump doesn't talk to him anymore. He's got nothing. He's trying to stay in the news. He's like Kyrie.
Oh, no. We can talk about that. Dr. Fauci, obviously he's been the premier as far as all of this disease control for decades, Joe. Decades. Trump's not listening to him for other reasons. He just wants to.
Oh, yeah, but still, Fauci has lost his podium to talk, so now he's going at it a different way. He's just, he liked to be in the face of the disease.
All right, Timmy, is baseball going the way of tennis and golf?
I love golf, so.
You understand, just kind of.
Scott, it was losing. I mean, look at the 4 of us, diehard baseball fans, and they're losing us. I mean, if they're losing us, they're in big freaking trouble.
I can't go a week without receiving a text from Russ Stevens thanking me for getting us out of those, making sure that we get out of those.
I'm with Timmy. I can't believe how little I care about whether they come back or not. And by the way, we're one full season removed from the best season in Red Sox history. Likable team, very likable team.
And the next generation, that was the next generation's 67 impossible dream year, right? I mean, if that year couldn't grab every kid, little 9-year-old in Boston and make them a crazy baseball fan like it did to us in 67, I mean, I'm aging myself here. What's it going to take?
But it was a different game back then. Russ, the statistician, will tell you that. The game is played differently. It takes 2 hours longer now. The ball isn't put in play anymore. They strike out 100% more. They hit 100% more home runs. They just don't put the ball in play anymore.
Yeah, no,
there's no action. No one's on the base paths. Nothing happens.
Yeah, it's not anything that can be solved with the game day experience, more music, more this. The problem with the game is that the game itself, the content of the game itself has deteriorated, right? We all sat in those stands, and my biggest hope going to a Red Sox game in the last few years was just let this thing be over in 3 hours.
3 hours, right? It's
just
true.
Please let it be over in 3 hours. Can we get this game moving? And the content of the actual game has deteriorated. So to the point where even the best season that we'd ever seen from our favorite team in our lifetimes wasn't enough to keep us interested for more than 9 months.
That is the absolute #1 issue, the length of the games. Absolutely. In my mind, standing on its own by itself is the 4-hour games.
So that's a great
Used
point.
to be 1.5 to 2 hour game. That was the standard game. 1.5 to 2 hours. You did 9 innings. All of a sudden, somehow, in the last 30 years, it's gone to a 3.25 hour average game. That's huge. It's doubled.
No matter who I was with at the game, I could always ask this question. I knew the answer. Do you want to go now? No, always. Yeah, that's fine. I think I've seen enough. Absolutely.
No,
yeah. And then
they're committing suicide for the sport. They really are. It's just amazing to watch. And maybe they've pulled it out of the hat today and they get 60 games in, but how are they going to do in competition against the NHL and the NBA than football? Anybody going to be watching baseball games over any of those other sports at this point?
My question is, do they push the length of these games just to get more commercials into a game and sell more hot dogs and beer at the game? Or is it just, is that the reason?
Combination of things, Timmy. The players' agents tell them, home runs equals dollars. It's all right to strike out. Just swing for the fences on every play. Don't listen to the coach. Don't listen, just do it.
Also,
there's a lot of things involved in why the game is deteriorating.
Also, spending 10 minutes in the batter's box means they talk about you more. They start talking about your personal life, your foundation and stuff. So these guys don't want to leave the batter's box anytime soon. It's 10 minutes of exposure on David Ortiz.
And also 5 pitchers every game for both teams, right? I mean, that's got to add a lot.
All right. And if things weren't bad enough, only baseball, no league screws up the draft more than baseball too. Look, the draft in the NBA and the NFL is must-watch TV now. All of a sudden, the MLB, they make it 5 rounds. Now it's confusing on whether these guys, they don't draft the best players because of slots and money and stuff. Red Sox draft a kid out of high school that was ranked about 200th. They've even screwed that up.
Wasn't he out there in California? Did you scout him?
Yeah, right. I mean, they can't get anything right now, Russ.
The gang who can't shoot straight, literally. Like who do you think is some sort of an intelligent agent in that game? No, the commissioner isn't. The owners aren't. I don't see any players really coming out. The best player, like in Major League Baseball, if it follows what the NBA does, Mike Trout should be out front, leading the way, right? Mm-hmm. He's as quiet as a church mouse. I don't even know what that guy's voice sounds like.
Yeah,
he doesn't want the role, obviously. So right. What are you going to do?
And they had a chance this year with Mookie being in LA. They could have he could have taken his star to another level. That didn't happen. So the problem is that you look around in the entire MLB ecosystem, and there's not one person I think has got a hold of this thing.
Mike Trout doesn't even have a deodorant commercial. Who doesn't have a deodorant commercial? Right. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like the 60th guy in the NBA's got a commercial that Mike Trout hasn't been able to get.
Old Spice is gone.
Yeah, right. All right, we'll go to the Patriots. I don't know if you saw it. Obviously, I've already ripped on Tom Brady today. I'm going to rip into him again. The unveiling, because Tom has to be in the limelight every day. He unveiled Tom in the Buccaneers uniform, as if we couldn't have photoshopped it. So that was a big thing in Tom's world. The fact is, he looked like a 50-year-old guy playing in a flag football league. Well, it's embarrassing.
So I need some advice from you, Scotty, because I remember vividly after, and we said it's to each other after the comeback in the Super Bowl in Atlanta, we looked at each other either that night or the next day and said, we were never going to ever say another bad word about this guy. What he did today, he gets a lifetime get out of jail free. We will never say another bad word. And I took that oath. Now, the problem is I feel like you feel, but I also took that oath that one comeback got him a get out of jail free card for the rest of his life. So I don't really, I feel bad about ripping on him now.
I know, but he left the team. His time in the laundry is over.
He left the team, but he didn't leave the team.
What have you done for me lately,
Scott? He was led out the back door of this team.
Okay, no, I understand. Okay, so apparently he gets a free pass with you, Russ. I understand.
I feel like you feel, but I'm having a hard time articulating it.
Is it an accident? Is it an accident he ended up playing in a warm weather team? I mean, that could have been the ultimate reason why he went there, because it's not cold, you know?
It's just embarrassing. It's just a bad optic. Wouldn't you give me that, Joe?
It's like seeing a girl you love walking down the street with some other guy.
It looks really weird.
It's like a nightmare almost. You wake up and Tom Brady's standing there in not a Patriots uniform. I love the guy. I'm never gonna bash him.
I'll root for him. I'm gonna root for him all year this year, because they're not playing the Patriots till next year.
Did nothing but good. He can do whatever the heck he wants, man. He brought me so much joy through the years. I know
he did, but still, I mean, he's like a kid about.
He gets a bit over the top with that Tampa Bay and all that marketing rubbish he goes through. But
for sure. So, Scotty, I got a question for you though. Like, so seeing Jimmy G in a San Francisco 49er uniform versus seeing Tommy Brady in a Tampa Bay, like, what on your scale of 1 to 10, where is it? What's worse?
What's your heartstring saying, Scotty?
Look,
you're pulling at his heartstrings.
Yeah, nobody rocks the 49ers uniform better than Jimmy G. Joe Montana would probably agree. I know, but at least when Joe Montana left, he went to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are obviously one of the original teams. The cool uniform, that I could buy. But
made the playoffs too.
It's
like Tom Brady went to the USFL.
He's quasi-retired to Florida. You know what I mean?
He looks like he has an AAU uniform on. It's like,
I think it was a warm weather decision. I mean, just like the rest of us old people, you know.
And he saw the Saints choking every year, and he said, "I'll go down to there.
Go to Florida."
It used to be in baseball when you played for Methuen High School, and then you wore the Legion uniform. And people would look.
I was down in Clearwater last year. I want to move there for the winter. I mean, it's beautiful there.
All right, boys. All right, great segue into my next question. All right, if Tom Brady has immunity for the lifetime, Bill Belichick is still in our world. How long does the immunity clause work for Bill Belichick as far as time before we get to rip him?
For me, he's also got a hall pass for everything. I mean, that was a great comment that Belichick said. He said, something about, the fans have stuck with you through thick and thin. He said, there hasn't been a lot of thin. You know, although that wasn't his exact quote, but it was something along those lines. There hasn't been a lot of downtimes in the last 20 years. You know what I mean?
Although I've never given Belichick that kind of blanket immunity that I gave Brady, just because there's so many decisions. Like, he makes so many. Like, Brady just goes on and plays football games, and then we comment on whether he should do Facebook shows or what his social media is or stuff like that. Belichick is just making decision after decision after decision. It's much easier to be sort of clinical and say, look, 2 years ago, he had a bad draft. Like, I'm not going to sit here. We can't sit here and reasonably argue that his draft 2 years ago was any good, right?
Well, he's not the scout. He's not the one who compiles the scouting.
Right, but
you know what? But he's the guy that hires the scout, though. So he's the captain.
He hires guys. Did you see the latest hire, his latest coach? The biggest thing on his resume was he was a head coach at a community college in Utah.
If you're driving the ship and the ship gets lost, well, who hired the navigator, right? I mean,
everyone comes from John Carroll University.
But here's the thing: every good person he hires gets stolen away. So he's on like his 15th generation of assistant coaches and offensive coordinators, because the league is littered with guys that he sent out into the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So you're saying he has unlimited immunity. I'm going to give him no, Russ, not unlimited, but I'm
not giving him no. Look, I think we're going to, at the end of this year, we're having a good debate among the four of us about should they tank, should they not tank. I think at the end of this year, we're going to have a nice sort of sample size to judge whether his strategy was right or wrong. If Stidham goes out there, they win 7 games. We're in the middle of the pack, but Stidham doesn't look like the quarterback of the future. We're kind of screwed at that point in time.
No question. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless we lose 12 games and we get
Clemson. Again, we could talk about this forever, to be honest with you. And I just think with Cam Newton out there, if they're serious about really competing for a Super Bowl title this year, they somehow try to work it out with Cam Newton.
When he looked at that fumble on the ground next to him in the Super Bowl and didn't make and shied away from it, I don't think Belichick would ever allow him on his football team.
Do you guys really think Super Bowl? I mean, look at the talent. Look at, there's some teams that there's not a chance they get past,
Oh, you're right, Tim. You're right. To Russ's point, half the Patriot fans aren't football fans. They were Tom Brady and bandwagon fans, and they're gonna turn on Belichick. So you're gonna get half. If he has a bad season, half the fans will turn on him immediately because they're riding bandwagons anyways.
Yeah.
Look, there's plenty of veteran guys out there, I guess the Clay Matthews of the world and stuff like that, that if you were really trying to go for it and you got a Cam Newton, you could absolutely be in the hunt. And you don't know. The Chiefs are one Patrick Mahomes blown out ACL from really coming back to the past.
Who's their backup now?
I'm sure it's not a guy who's very good. It's not anywhere like Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
Because really that's it. I mean, that's who the Titans were a nice, story last year, but there aren't any great teams in the AFC except for the Chiefs.
Yeah. No, look, an outcome that I will not be able to defend would be, I can defend them winning 9 games, 10 games, squeaking into the playoffs and giving it a shot just for the very reason you said. You don't know, guys get injured, right? You put yourself in the playoffs, you give yourself a shot at winning a Super Bowl. If they go out and win 6 games, they get their 12th draft pick in the first round, and Stidham isn't good, we're no closer to a rebuild now than we were then than we are now. That's a miss on Belichick's part.
I think for us, I think you're hitting it right on the head. Is he our guy for the future? Is Belichick making the correct call with him right now? Are we losing another year?
Yeah,
by not doing something.
Well, easy again. I'll say it every week. If Brian Hoyer is your starting quarterback game 1, you know what he's doing. He's tanking.
You're tanking.
He's tanking. Absolutely.
Which I'm okay with.
Every game is precious. He's not giving away games. He's not giving away games early, to get Stidham more time. If Hoyer's
can I pat myself on the back for my prediction 2 years ago?
Oh my God!
The Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes.
Have I not given you credit every time? I give you credit, Timmy, every time.
We shall see.
You're starting to sound like Scotty, Tim.
I know. Wait, whoop, toot my own horn.
And that's a good
I found that
sound. You can sound a lot worse. All right, go to the Bruins. Finally, hockey players. You can answer this, Timmy. Hockey players would play for free. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, different animal. Those Canadian, most of them are Canadians. They just raise them right up there and do something. I'll tell you, there's something about, the hockey community, everything. It's just, I don't know, it's a different animal.
They really are a community. And, you don't hear any bitching and moaning right now about them starting up. These guys.
Well, they're going to announce the hub cities this week, aren't they? The end of this week, they're going to announce the 3 hub cities.
Well, I hope Orlando's not one of them. I mean, that's really had to have thrown a wrench in a lot of this right now, that story about...
You know what feels weird right now? Seeing on my American Express bill getting charged for Bruins tickets right now. It feels very weird.
That's outrageous. And I know what the Red Sox have not returned the monies to season ticket holders
really?
June, right? June, July, August, September.
I mean, I'm mixed between, I don't have to pay. It's a fortune to pay the playoff tickets. I think the tickets are 10 or 11,000, and if they played every game in the playoffs, it would be about 9,500. So I'm happy I'm not paying 9,500, but I'm also bummed out that I don't get to go to the games.
Yeah, I don't know why they're billing anybody for anything right now. It's a complete scam. But all right, boys, that's our time for tonight. Want to thank the fellas, of course. What a great show. That was lots of fun. Went quick. Want to thank, of course, everyone behind the scenes. Corbin, please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune in again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.